the Circle community, so it's so nice to get to meet some of you today and put faces to names. And so as we've been thinking about our programming for our Build Your Toolkit day today, a big question that's on a lot of our minds is what role should social media play in that toolkit? Social media has been around for a long time. It's not new, but it is changing. It's changing all the time. The platforms themselves are changing. Just this summer, Threads went live. Twitter is totally unrecognizable from what it was. And the content that's working is always changing too. Now, short form video is by far the most engaging content on social. And we're hearing from our customers that people still have a lot of questions about what role should social media play, how much time should I be spending on it, what should I be posting, is it really worth it? And so that's the question we wanted to ask today, and we have a really fantastic panel of experts with us to help us answer that question. So I want to introduce them quickly, and then I'll open the floor to let them share a little bit more about their backgrounds. So starting with Karen Happel, who is a creative marketing consultant and the founder of Genuine Content. Karen and I got to meet last night. She helps clients who range from local businesses to architecture firms to aerospace companies with their branding and their web design. Next we have Franceschi, who is a best-selling author, speaker, and branding strategist. Annie started her career at Disney and went on to found her own company, Greatest Story Creative, where she helps coaches, consultants, and service providers tell their story and grow their business. And finally, we have Liam Lacey. Liam and I know each other for a while. He used to be here on the marketing team at Squarespace and now leads the marketing at Cosmos. So welcome. We are so happy to have the three of you here. And I want to start by asking each of you to share a little bit more about who you are, your background, and your business.
Sure. Hey guys, I'm Karen Happel. I actually started, I've been kind of down several different avenues in my career. I started off as a reality TV casting director, which is where I learned all about personal branding and how powerful your story can really be. I started Genuine Content, and that's how I started making Squarespace websites and all that kind of stuff. The other side of my business is on Instagram. I teach creatives, authors, musicians, artists, how to grow on Instagram. So I know how frustrating it can be between my clients and myself. I know exactly what you guys are going through.
Well, amazing. I'm Franceschi, and like Karen, I also used to be in the entertainment industry, but I used to work for Disney. So we're kind of working my way up to a dream job, telling stories of upcoming films, creating pitch decks for execs, and realized that it was just a dream job and not a dream life. So 10 years ago, almost to the day, I quit my job, moved back home to North Carolina, and started a business where I help real people tell their story through their business branding. And it's shocking. We were looking around the room, right, at how many years you've been building Squarespace websites, and I was one of the 10 years. And one of the things I work with a lot of coaches and consultants and service business owners, in particular a lot of women entrepreneurs who feel really intimidated by social media. They don't like being the face of their business. They don't understand it. They don't like to self-promote. It's very uncomfortable for them. And even me as a marketer, I tried what a lot of the online gurus teach for the first several years of my business and got really burnt out. Kind of went in the tactic tornado and ended up down the black hole of internet marketing. And I was either going to quit and find a job or find another way to do it. And so that's what I'll be talking about a little bit today from my perspective, what I call how to establish yourself. So a framework for how to grow that isn't so reliant on social media, but other ways of scaling relationships. And there's a preview of that. We've all got some great goodies for you today. So if you're curious about that, there's some resources there.
And hi, I'm Liam Lacey. I am currently leading marketing at Cosmos, a Pinterest alternative for creative people. Cosmos is one space to save everything you're inspired by online. I met a few people today who have actually been avid users of Cosmos since we launched only a few months ago. It's been really great to see people already interacting with this new product. You could be one of the first today to join Cosmos. If you go to our website, scan the QR code, there's flyers around here as well. And use Circle Day as how you found out about us. You will get access to the product before the 30,000 people on our wait list. prior to working at Cosmos, I was a senior media strategist here at Squarespace. I do not do web design. I feel like an outlier here today, but it is really exciting to be back on old stomping grounds and talking to you all about something I know and do best, which is social media.
So thank you, all three of you. And I wanted to jump right in, start by asking how you use social media yourselves and what role social media has played in growing your own businesses. So Karen, I'll start with you.
I think, especially when I was first starting my business, social media can be an amazing networking tool, especially one-to-one, right? Like not being afraid to reach out to people, not being afraid to, pop into somebody's direct messages and create relationships that grow over time. I have colleagues now, and we trade business back and forth because when I first started my business, I reached out and I said, hey, can I just ask you some questions? And then also learning, how I ended up working with authors. I had a friend who's a literary agent, and she came to me and she said, hey, we can't get a publisher to look at this author. Can you help them grow a following, right? And through that, and then realizing that those were nonfiction authors, but that fiction authors needed something completely different. And I realized that people weren't figuring out what their goals should be before starting to create content. And so that's kind of the big thing that I always start with people. Like, let's actually take a look at the foundation and then build from there. And especially as things change, right? Like, it just keeps going back to that.
It's so essential. Everything is how you tell the story. Everything is about the strategy that you're going through. So I love that you do that. And for me, you've heard a little bit of the beginning of the story, and feeling like what the online gurus were teaching and still do, frankly, is like, it's just so easy. Convert cold leads, sell, like funnel. Oh my gosh, we've all got those ads in our Instagram right now. And what I did to kind of turn things around was I thought about like, well, how do I connect with people? How do I naturally scale relationships? So I went on sort of a speaking tour and started doing like a free brand workshop called Branding with Annie that kind of got my name out there. And Branding with Annie continued for 4.5 years after that, and it really built my brand visibility, and that is my preferred method to grow and scale those relationships. It's not social media. Like, I've been in business for 10 years and my audience is about 1,500 people. It's not a lot of people, but it's enough to drive a 6-figure practice that I work 30 hours a week and I take December off. I love what I do. So there's lots of ways to do it. And so my relationship to social media is not that I don't have it. I'm almost careful to say marketing without social media. It's not really that. It's marketing without stressing social media. So you've got to have something in your business to scale those relationships. Speaking for me is one of those ways, networking other ways. But all of that being said, I do use social media. I do show up on it when I want to, when it feels good. I batch my stuff. And I show up a lot for credibility. So if you get a referral about me, you go look me up. Like, yes, I'm on LinkedIn. Yes, I'm on Instagram. Hi, please say hello. We all need followers today, right? Like, we'll all follow each other. But I use it. But the difference for me is that I don't lose my mind to it, right? I don't let it be my self-worth or the majority of my time, which I track, which is also a game changer. So that's a little bit of my relationship to it. How about your level of life is?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of what you're talking about too is this intimidation. Like, social media seems like a very intimidating space for people who aren't involved with it. I will say I grew up with social media. Small anecdote, I never went on an official college tour. I set up my own college tours by going to colleges on Instagram, finding people that followed them, that were students that I really connected with. I DM'd them, I said, hey, I'll be at this college on this day, give me a tour please. Like, I always use social media to my advantage because I don't think of it as a scary place. I actually think of it, social media from day one has been the one spot I can go online to be creative, to show who I am, and connect with similar people that are as creative as I am in a space where, I don't know, I'm not afraid to reach out to them because what's the difference? So say I reach out, well, if I didn't, then that's a missed opportunity from my point of view. From a professional perspective, social media is and has been my life in the professional world. I've only worked and done social media for social media companies, which has been very interesting. I think of it, there's almost an added pressure to my role and relationship as a marketer on social media from the same way that as a web designer, if your personal website isn't as clean and polished as it could be, there's this expectation of why should I trust you to design my website? Same as I'm doing social media for companies that are selling their products as a social media app. If their social media isn't killing it, then how and why? What's the draw to go there? So I felt like in my world as a marketer, it's definitely been this added pressure to figure out the strategy and what social media looks like for the companies I've worked for. but it's also pushed me to think outside the box and be more creative in the ways that I use social media.
I want to jump into a couple things that I heard. So one is, Annie and Liam, you mentioned this idea of credibility and showing up on social media. How can a small business that's just getting started or an entrepreneur who wants to establish themselves and that credibility on social get started?
So you've heard of Strengths Finder. There's like 35 strengths. My bottom strength is consistency. Yet, I have what I do, I call it a consistency container. And Karen and I were just talking about this, that relies on, I used to write a newsletter every week and it would burn me the heck out, and that was the thing I would repurpose. And what I figured out to do was I love talking and I love speaking. How can I translate that, grow my audience? So I do a series called Branding with Friends. And I built it as a repeatable system. I call it a consistency container or consistency system that allows me to show up and be an authority, and it's built specifically for my ideal clients to teach them the value of branding. And I bring on experts that talk about LinkedIn, SEO, anything that relates to branding. So all I have to do to make an episode of Branding with Friends is shoot the video interview. And then I send it all to my virtual assistant who follows my templates and my process, we were talking about with Wayne earlier, and it's repeatable. So my recommendation to someone who's getting started with social media, I think one of the largest challenges, I feel like we all struggle to be consistent. I know I do, it's my bottom strength, right? So think about what you actually enjoy doing, and the parts that you don't enjoy doing, delegate, automate, use Happel. What are some ways to kind of double down on things you like, because that's how I have 40 episodes of Branding with Friends. I started for maternity leave actually, about 4 years ago. So what could you do to set up a system? Because I think we all know we don't need to preach to you the value of consistency. That's how people are going to see you over time and get to know you. So if you struggle with that, or that's been a historical problem, or you're worried about establishing yourself in that way, think about what is that thing that you would be willing to do that could be repurposed in lots of different things. Like maybe it's writing for you, maybe it's podcasting. How do you like to show up? And then what painful parts of the process could you remove so you can do it on a regular basis?
I love that. And I think to add to that, again, playing to your strengths, social media should be fun. It shouldn't be something that's stressful for you. It should be the place in your business where, gosh, I remember when I was a kid and I loved just taking the movie camera and making fun videos at home. I miss that. Obviously, it's not going to look like that, but then start making videos for your business. Or, gosh, I love to write, but I don't have a place to just write in my day-to-day because I'm busy doing X, Y, Z. Well, what if you could find the time and start writing on Substack or Medium about what you do and what you know how to do best? I think that there's an opportunity everywhere on social media for this to be a new creative outlet, to do the one thing that, gosh, I've been wanting to do that, but there's a way for me to start doing that and actually have it lead and lend to my business.
And I think if you're not having fun, that's how you end up with burnout. Right? Because all of a sudden you're just churning these things out because you told yourself that you needed to be consistent, you're not to do these things. And so I constantly try to keep an eye on okay, so what is the return on my time investment here? Right? If you take a look at my Instagram right now, you're gonna be she hasn't posted in a while. What is she even talking about? Right? and it's but it's because my business had changed so much this year that I was just putting out content just to put out content, and it wasn't getting me anywhere. I wasn't even sure what I was selling to that audience, right? Because I had the two different sides of my business, and this one, I was redoing all of my products, and I just needed to re-strategize. And so I'm at a place now where I'm just about to start relaunching my content again, and there's a plan in place. And I think that's huge, right? Just kind of keeping a check on, is this making me miserable? When I take out my phone and I'm oh God, I have to do this again, then it's time to check in and see if it's really giving the results that you want.
And if I could just add one thing to that I feel like I've had to learn time and time again and teach myself that fun matters so much. And what I was doing was I would think strategically, what is the strategy I need to do to get more clients or whatever? And then I would think, how can I make it fun? And that has always backfired. So I flip it. The best things, the things that have always paid off for me is what is naturally fun to me. And I feel like you were really hitting on that. And then when it's fun, okay, what's the best strategic ways of having that fun?
I have one more thing as well. I feel like everything that we're talking about here is doing something new. It's you're adding something new that you haven't produced this form of content, you haven't written that thing yet. But most of you, I'm sure all of you, have a working website. You have content that you've made, it's somewhere online. I guarantee I could sit down with any of you and look at your website and say, I see 10 posts here based on your one website. Take your bio and your headshot, and that's one post on your Instagram grid. make a 3x3 grid and just go live on that platform. Half of social media for me is being social. It's literally written in social media. You can talk all day about like you should be writing, you should be posting, you should be consistent, yes, but you should also be consistently engaging and social on that platform. I think the easiest way to start, and that barrier of entry goes away when, all right, I'm going to set up 6 posts on Instagram. That's it. It's a great representation of who I am, what I do, the business I'm starting. But now my responsibility is I'm going to put that additional effort into interacting, being social on that platform, finding similar people in my niche, and reaching out to them, building these relationships. It's not all about the new content that you're working on. The other half of it is about engaging and being social. So don't be intimidated by us saying like, oh, you have all these other things you could do. Yes, but I know that all of you already have the content. You just have to rework it.
And can I just
Please.
So I think, part of the fun of this is that we all come from really different ideas of what social media should mean to you, right? And so you're here because you're like, oh God, we need social media. Like that's the whole title of this thing, right? And so I think yes, but it could mean something different to everybody, right? I have multiple pages, a really new following, and there's a quiz that goes along with that because there are 4 different types of creators. And for you guys, I'm gonna add a 5th. There's the business owner and the entrepreneur, which I'm guessing since you're here, that's you guys. And for that, it's really about those relationships. You don't need a huge following. You just need to be building relationships with people that will eventually turn into business, right? There's the influencer, there's somebody who wants brand deals. They want to start making money that way. Well, yeah, you're going to need a larger audience for that, right? There's what I call the rising star, which is, say the author who needs a publisher to give them the platform, right? Then they're looking for a really big following. And then there's the support system. A lot of my authors are on there and they're just looking for other people who are doing what they do and they want to collaborate and they want that support, right? Like that's another amazing thing too. And then there's a 5th, which some of my design clients prefer. And that is just a static portfolio, right? Like if that's your intention, that's okay. If you're doing that but you want growth, that's not gonna get you anywhere, right? But like you can say, okay, all I want social media for is a static portfolio that I'm gonna update with my best work and it's someplace that you can go and see my work. That's okay too, as long as you know that that's what it's okay to do.
So I think that this is getting at the topic that I imagine is on a lot of our minds, which is like, what content should I actually be focused on? How do I get started? And you mentioned starting with what you already have and taking what's on your website and turning it into content that'll work. What other types of content ideas can you share for someone who's like, I need to either restart my social strategy or I want to think about it differently, but I don't know where to begin?
Absolutely. Well, one, I love what you just said, that I think there are many different intentions you can go into social media with. I would say that when I am working with someone and helping them build their social media presence, I usually say, one, we need to start posting on that platform in a way that the platform will understand us. Because all platforms we work on, I know everyone talks about algorithms and how you can be shadow banned on these platforms and like, why am I not seeing the engagement that I was expecting? You need to work with the platforms. These platforms want, like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, they want you to do well and succeed on that platform because it keeps you back there and it allows your content to be served to other people that are interested in you. But the way to do that is to keep posting in that niche. So for example, if I am going to launch on Instagram today, I haven't posted on Instagram before, I'm going to start and do the best that I can to prove, say I'm a designer, I'm showing Instagram I am a designer. I'm using designer-related hashtags, keywords in my posts, I'm making videos related to design, photos related to design, I'm following other designers and engaging with other designers. That is going to bucket you in that social bucket on the platform where they are going to help serve your content to other people that's related to that niche. So when I say like to answer the question, what should I start posting, like how do I get involved? Think about in that same niche, then how could I easily start posting in those categories? Break it down into like, okay, I have 3 different content pillars. I want to start posting about myself as a designer. I want to start posting educational things, so giving out design tips and tricks, free websites that I use as a designer. And then I want to share my portfolio. So there are 3 main buckets that I can start posting under. I'm sure that you can come up with 5 to 10 posts in each of those buckets. That's a start. You know how have an array of content related to you as a designer in that same niche, but it's a variety of content, so people are coming back for more. That also allows you to see what your audience is actually interested in. So maybe everything I'm posting about myself and the behind-the-scenes life as a designer, everybody loves, and it's getting hundreds of likes, but my portfolio isn't performing that well. Then maybe you shouldn't be posting about your portfolio and start posting more about yourself as a designer, because people are going to fall in love with you and come to your business because of that. Again, it's supposed to be a fun space, and you should be sharing what you want to share, but work with these platforms a little bit, because they are going to work for you as well.
I think something that hasn't come up as much as I think it should in the conversation. We are, I would assume for the most part, less influencers and more business owners in the room, and so we need to be thinking about clarity around, do we even know what we do? Do we even know what we sell, and who is it for? Because I think that was all really tactical and wonderful, and I kind of tend to handle the before step of like, well, what is the story? And like, what are the content pillars? And I think the thing you want to be thinking about is, what do your ideal clients want? And like from my decade in business, I was talking to Karen and Liam earlier that the first few years in business, I kind of looked at what other people were doing as we all are doing and admire each other. And I was like, oh wow, okay, so I will offer this high ticket service where I do your brand and web, but then they're gonna be the DIY people. And so I gotta be like, can you DIY your logo and how to do that and templates and all these things. And what that ends up becoming is it was attracting the wrong clients. And so what I ended up having to do is really reframe my marketing, because my ideal clients, and maybe this is true of you, any of you who are doing high ticket for, let's say for branding or web design, they are not looking to create their own website. They are not looking to create their own brand. They are looking to grow their business. It's a different one, it's a different problem, and it's a different sophistication of your marketing and your message. So, you could be making a mistake, for example, if like you really want to get that client who really wants that custom website, and all you're doing is talking about how to do your own site. You're talking to a completely different person who has a completely different budget. So what is it you're going after? And that's how like the tone of my marketing shifted from, hey, you can do it yourself, to let's talk about the why. One of the things that I see a lot, even with coaching consultants, is like, I say like marketing meets and programs problem solve. Don't try to solve the problem for your client. Try to talk to them about the why they would want to solve the problem, to introduce them to what the solutions could be. It's not about providing the solution through your content. And I think if we look too much at the gurus, and especially the influencers, they're constantly trying to solve problems through their content. So it's a lot more with high ticket about talking about how these are real problems, here are the solutions, and here's how to get started with them, with a premium partner or professional.
Yeah, and I'll elaborate a little bit further on one of the biggest pitfalls that I see is, like, we're all designers, right? If you start putting out content with really like expert level design tips, right? Like code, here's how you fix this, and you think that you're helping people with like the DIY, well, you're gonna get a following of us in this room, right? And as much as we love each other and we're here to support each other, right? Like, there's only so much, hiring that's gonna go on between each other. And so just, keep that end user in mind when you're creating, like, what do they really want? What do they really need? If you're selling courses teaching how to build websites, then yeah, like that DIY stuff is gonna be perfect. And so yeah.
So content is one piece, and then community and sort of that social element is another factor here. And you mentioned a little bit about how you can start to, build your following, build that community. But I'm curious if you have any tips for clients or for small businesses who are interested in really using social to start building that community.
I think that if you are to launch on a new social platform or continue growing your existing social presence, hashtags and keywords, the reason I bring this up is because 40% of Gen Z is turning to Instagram and TikTok versus Google to search what they're looking for. They find that they can consume media quicker, they can get the trendy or more on-brand content and businesses that they're looking for on these platforms because they're live there. And I think that being particular with the keywords and hashtags that we're using on these platforms is really important. You're right, if I'm using hashtags like design tips, If I'm somebody looking to go somebody to design my website, I probably am not searching design tips, but maybe I'm going to be searching New York City web designer, or I'm going to, like, things like that. Just being more strategic about the keywords and phrases you're using, because when people go to search New York City web designer on Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform you're using, there's an opportunity for you to be seen there, and to have a presence on this app that people are starting to trust and turn to even more than the products and sites that we've been trusting and using for a very long time.
So how do we use it to build community? And I think a couple of things that I think have not come up in this conversation but are staggering because they have a better conversion rate are a lead magnet that works really great for your ideal client, because the conversion rate is 1 to 3% on average for email marketing. It's way worse for social media. So again, that's a huge difference. If we're emulating what the 100,000 follower influencer is doing, they don't have a business. Their business is brand partnerships, right? We want to see dollars, and we can do that with way less followers. We can't even take on 100,000 clients or whatever it is. So something to keep in mind there is, like, how are you creating a way for, if someone follows you on Instagram, how they come into your world through something you're offering free on your email list, right? Because the email list is where you're going to build those relationships. But that's kind of what I wanted to answer this with, Drew, was, when you were talking about keywords and hashtags, like, I'm 10 years in the business and I'm still like, man, that makes my eyes want to glaze over. Like, it makes me want to take a nap. But what doesn't are the things that come naturally to me. And so the thing I want to impart to you guys is, like, really take away, whether it's social or otherwise, how do you want to scale relationships? How do you want to show up? How can you create the system that works well for you? And social, and Cosmos is amazing, is one avenue for that. But it could be like I started an in-person event. We are coming out of the pandemic, hopefully all these things. In-person is coming back, local is coming back. There are lots of ways to show up, and nothing that you see online wasn't arranged. It was all arranged offline, an offline conversation, so through engagement. So it's not all through social media, and there's all this white space that is just waiting for you, like, literally could be in your local community. Like, that's where I started branding with Annie. It wasn't a webinar, though I do those now. It was literally a free co-working space in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, where I just started filling the room every month. And so it was like a chain reaction. People would tell other people, and they would start coming. I did like a branded series. So what is that version for you? And just kind of opening up the discussion and the thought process of, if you haven't been getting traction on social, or you want something you need to talk about on social, what could you do in person? What could you be doing to scale more relationships, get more visibility to what you do, and getting them better connected in your business?
So two things. I think another one of the biggest pitfalls that I see is somebody going, I'm going to be on social media, I have strategy now, I'm going to be everywhere, right? Pick one platform and go all in. Because once you start growing that, once you start getting the right people there, you can start another one. Because now you know what content works, right? And now you can start sending people, say, hey, you like me on Instagram, I'm over on TikTok too, right? And then you can do that. Otherwise, what ends up happening, I've seen it so many times, right? So people are like, okay, I'm gonna write articles on LinkedIn, and I'm gonna show up a video on Instagram, then I can repurpose that on TikTok. You'll burn out real fast. And then as far as
full-time job.
Full-time job.
Because it's literally your full-time job. Yeah.
And then the one actionable tip as far as engagement is make a list. Whatever platform you choose to be on, 3 people who are your ideal client for posting content, 3 people who are like you, similar followings, it feels like they're in a similar place where you are as a creator, and 3 people who are creators where you want to be, right? They have the right following, they have the right content, you'd love to see yourself doing that one day. First step is to start showing up in their posts, right? Start becoming a familiar name in their content so that they recognize you. And then once you feel like they'll know who you are, pop into their DMs. And then it doesn't have to be anything salesy, it doesn't have to be anything, just say hey, I really like what you're doing here. I just wanted to say hi because we've been interacting, right? And the key between being spammy and, and actually doing something to build a relationship is that work you do beforehand on their content to show that you actually appreciate them, right? And that's a real genuine relationship that you can be building.
That's great, thank you. So I want to bring in our audience, but I had one more question that I want to ask about. And Andy, you mentioned conversion rate, and I'm a marketer for all marketers in our own way. And I think a lot about analytics and making sure that we're focusing on the metrics that actually matter. And so quickly from each of you, I'd like to
many people are doing the thing that I want to do per, penny that I'm spending on that post, right? And it might not be monetary. It might be, for every post that I do, how many people are actually converting into something else. So figuring out what that metric is to you is kind of what matters more than how many likes you're getting.
Well, I'm a creative and I hate math. So I don't love analytics. The things that I actually care about and the metrics in my business I'm so grateful to have, because the things that I pay attention to are like, where is my time going, where is my money going, and how satisfied I am in my business. Social media as a marketing strategy plays a role in that. But once I started, for example, tracking my time, the time I spend on social media goes like this, because I started realizing the cost relative to the results of that. And being able to see that, one of the big things I like to say is followers don't equal figures. We think that someone who has 100,000 followers must be making $100,000 or more. It's not true. If you start actually asking questions. I literally went to a panel like this a few weeks ago in North Carolina. All these people, there's a person with 500,000 followers, and I asked them, hey, can you talk about the relationship of your financial revenue to the number of followers you have? Not a single person on this panel answered that question directly. Okay? So I will tell you, I have the clients I want, I have a consistent six-figure practice. I have about 1,100 people on my newsletter list and about 1,500 followers on Instagram. And that's cool, and that's fine, and my satisfaction with my business is very high. So you want to be talking to and taking advice from the people who are walking the walk, have the business you want, and actually have a business. So that's those have been the metrics for me of what social media activity or marketing activity overall is worth my time, energy, money, and if it's not going to bring in those ideal clients, I'm not doing it. And the permission to do that has been very, very for me.
I think when I look at the core sets of analytics, I would say a share or a save mean more to me than a like or a comment. Those things mean that somebody took my post and went to share it and send it to someone else because they thought, oh my gosh, I resonate with this and I want someone else to see it. Or, oh my gosh, I like this, I need to save this for later. Also, you should probably save it to Cosmos.
Hashtag Cosmos.
Yeah. When we look even deeper than that, again, you're starting out in the social space and you're like, oh my gosh, analytics is something I should be thinking about. Maybe you're looking into a third-party service like Sprout Social or Dash Hudson or Buffer, or I've used all of them. I think that when you're starting out, scratch that. Truly, the best analytics are the ones coming from the apps you're using on the apps that they're there themselves. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, they're all giving you the analytics that you need as a small business owner to succeed and figure out what posts are doing better, what's your top performing content. It's not worth spending the time and money and investing in these third-party platforms when you're not there yet. If you're hiring someone and there's going to be someone managing, if this is a bigger undertaking, go for it. But everything you need is right there in front of you.
And then I think also, I wasn't ready to answer the question before, but what I meant to say was, every post that you put out, you should put out with an intention, right? This post I want to get engagement on, this post I want to get comments on, this post is, I want people to share, or I want more follows, or whatever, and then track that metric for that post, right? Because having that intention will inform what the caption's going to say, what type of post it's going to be, and all that kind of stuff. So again, instead of trying to do all the things and trying to get all of the analytics for every post, just pick one.
Thank you. With that, I want to open up to the audience for some questions. Yes, please, go ahead.
I know it was mentioned to really focus on one, but if you're using, a lot of times the dimensions are the same. So if you're using a platform like Later, that to spit it out to 1 is the same effort it takes to spit out to 5. How do you feel about that?
Again, I shared that I think creating the content is just as important as engaging and being social on that platform. It's great, you're getting your content, you're getting yourself and your presence out across multiple platforms, but unless you're able to keep up, in my opinion, with the engagement of actually being social on all of those platforms, it's not worth putting your face out there. It really would hurt to see your content every single day on 1 million platforms, and people are engaging with that, but you're not returning the engagement because you don't have the time in your day to be able to do that. I'd rather focus all of your time and effort on one personal.
Wait, can I add one more thing to that?
Wait, very quick, wait. No.
Yeah, really quick. Also, if you're showing up on all of the platforms, why is somebody going to follow you on another one and they can already get the same
other day, a client reached out to me and they sent me a like TikTok type of video from another creator, and the guy was like, real estate guy, he's like, this is how I make $6,500 this month. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of frenzy around social, and my clients will do they know more than me. Like, well, this person did it, so like, why can't you do that? And I'm like, well, I hate to break it to you, this person's lying. But anyway, I don't even know this person. I can guarantee they're lying. But that video is basically like, just go on AI, create 30 days of content, do this digital download, add it up, download it, and people start buying from you. And so like, how do we come back and explain to our clients around what that looks like, what marketing is? Because I'm running into a lot of people who are like, well, this is how you really do marketing. And I'm like, I'm a marketing professor. So like, trust me, I literally know this stuff down to a T. I'm telling you, this is not how it works. And even an ideal world that does happen for some people, it can be sheer luck. So like, how do I talk about that?
So you're saying talk about the fact that like social media can't just happen overnight. Like we can't just make a video and all of a sudden it's going to go viral.
Yeah, but a lot of people are promoting that that's what happens. So how do we combat that? And because especially when you don't have a lot of followers. Because my clients are like, well, you don't have a lot of followers, so like you're clearly not a good marketer. And I'm like, how do I explain this? Like, you know what I mean?
I feel like honestly in that case it would be a conversation of like, let's start and see what happens. Like, okay, if that's the expectation, then let's try it, but also breaking down, like, look at that video that went viral. What are the components of that video? Why did that go viral? Why did that perform the way it did? What's the background behind it? Everyone talks, especially in a business world, about Duolingo on TikTok. When you think about like what's the successful accounts on TikTok, a business that was able to do it and make a statement and nail it, it's that. I've heard from the woman who started and ran Duolingo's TikTok account, it took 3 to 4 months of everyday posting quality content for them to get one viral video. It is not an overnight thing that happens unless you are an outlier, unless you have some crazy story that everybody's attracted to, it's just not going to happen. So I feel like the advice that I would give there in terms of working with clients is to maybe find those stories of people like, okay, this is the account using example. Let's scroll back and let's see when they started from scratch, what did their engagement look like? What did their following look like? And how did they do that? Is that something that is something we can replicate here? Yes or no, and then let's talk about that.
I just feel like there's so many predatory accounts because like I tried that approach, but a lot of those guys will delete all of their old stuff, and when you scroll back, it's only viral
It's a
content.
scam.
Like, it's a scam.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you need to say.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, maybe this is wrong, could be a pop-up, so I just don't work with those clients. I'm sorry, I'm not the one for you. I can't kill myself, you know what I mean? I probably shouldn't do that. I probably should do a better job of, she's laughing so hard, like I probably should do a better job of, but I just
Don't
can't.
sell your sanity.
It's the same thing that we talked about before where if I saw 2 accounts and one had 200,000 followers but 50 comments on every post, and one that had 200 followers but 50 comments on every post, which do I think is more successful? The 200 followers. I don't care about the followers, I don't care about the big flashy numbers. Most of the time, that was bought. There is money behind this. Money is so deeply and heavily involved in the social media space, it blows my mind. And I think that I would say to that client, I could work with you to get the engagement that you're looking for, but maybe not the numbers that are so flashy that you visually might look at firsthand and say, oh my gosh, wow, you're crushing it, like I'm giving you more money for that. No, those are meaningless engagements. Like, did that really make a difference for my business? Probably not.
What are the real results? Absolutely.
If you guys saw a hand in the back.
Oh yeah, I had a question. It's actually two. So one is regarding the content creation, and you all know AI is just like so easy, like images, the animation, like content. So what's your vision for the future? Like what would be the content that would really stand out? It's just like so much noise right now, and you can turn your from a website to an idea to a content post with hashtags, everything in like super quickly. So what would be the next stage of the real content that would resonate and stand out? That's one. And the other one is, obviously social media has a positive side to it, right? The business growth, the happiness, recognition, influence. However, at the same time, there's another side, which is, bullying, going viral for a bad reason. It wasn't really intentional. Your reputation may be destroyed. How to deal with that. And not a lot of people actually talk about that. So I wanted to hear your perspective on how to deal with that and best practices that you're seeing.
I can definitely tap into the content creation
Yeah.
part of that. Well, honestly both, but when taking this position at Cosmos, did not realize how creative and hands-on it was going to be, where I am now part-time, full-time content creator for this business, where same thing for part of my role at Squarespace. I am in front of the camera a lot of the time when working on social content. But similar to what you shared earlier in your talk, I have used AI, and there's new programming that has been really helpful to create high-level content that's making it easier for me. It's automating the way that I would do that. For example, say I want to create a video of me, and I want to be in front of the camera because this is a business I'm related to, and I want people to see that about me, but I don't want to speak. And I'm like, don't feel comfortable talking to the camera. There's this barrier of entry that I'm not willing to get into. Then just record a video of you. You don't have to be talking, and you can use AI to write out a script for what you want to say in the video behind you, and then add that to the video afterwards. I think one of my biggest things in jumping into content creation is you don't have to spend crazy money on or learn the Adobe platforms, or you can download CapCut on your iPhone. You can use a free AI software online, like a website you look up. Everything should be pretty easy. Don't think of it as major thing to jump into. And a lot of those will be used to my advantage in terms of what you're saying, what's the next biggest thing? How do I go viral the fastest? I think it's educational content. People will stop from their scrolling if it's something that's actually mindful that they're consuming, if it's something that's going to stick with them and be something they're learning. And the tricky thing is that a lot of what educational content looks like now on social is somebody speaking to a camera. It's somebody actually being interactive with the audience. So that's why I bring it up, is what are ways that you can do that and tap into this new viral form of content in a way that's easier and isn't as oh God, I don't want to be in front of a camera. There are other ways to do it that are easier that don't involve speaking.
I think AI is going to replace generic, right? It'll replace the things that you can get on Fiverr, but a person's personal brand, you're the only person who has that. So the more of your voice, the more you can put into something, the more I think longevity will have.
How do your social media strategies differ on each platform? Instagram versus TikTok versus YouTube versus whatever. How do you approach them?
They're very different. At its core, each platform is very different. Instagram is a visual platform focused mostly on photos. There's also Instagram stories that you can be tapping into. TikTok is video focused. Twitter and Threads are now text focused. Every single platform does have a different bread and butter to what makes it special and the type of content you should be posting in order to perform or be successful on that platform. I think that's why, and we all kind of spoken to this today, that when maybe you are fresh and you don't know where you're going to start on social media, pick the platform that resonates the most with you, where you're most excited to get on. We also think about social media in a way, it's Instagram is the option, I have to do that. Or TikTok is new and everyone's talking about it, so I have to get on TikTok. But there are also niche and really powerful social media communities on things like Substack and Medium, where you could be just writing newsletters and writing for your marketing point of view. I think that there are new social platforms out there that don't rely on you making this visual content, although we're web designers and graphic design, and web design is your bread and butter. So maybe these are the platforms you should be on.
But it's gotta be, to add to that, where your ideal clients are. Okay, so you asked what I do to grow my business. On Instagram, I'm not expecting to get clients because my clients tend to be older women who aren't on Instagram. My clients hate social media almost by definition. I find them through referral, word of mouth, and LinkedIn, and I show up differently on LinkedIn because it's a different platform, more professional. You're gonna find me on Instagram being goofy and being Disney Times Square store, look at me, because I'm excited to connect with you guys and have more community building. I'm not looking for clients there, so it's not a universal thing, and it can't just be what you enjoy or the platform you enjoy, because if you go hang out on Instagram and your clients aren't on it, what's the point, right? So you always have to be thinking strategically about what is the point, what am I actually trying to do or sell if you want to see engagement that translates to something other than likes or saves, right? And you want it to make you money. That's why we're all here.
And I think the platforms are very different, and because of that, you can't be afraid to fail, right? You just have to put out stuff and then watch the analytics, because what works for one person is going to be a little bit different for somebody else. We've seen it so many different times, right? So just like trying, and then just sticking with the things that actually gain traction.
As someone who works full-time in social media and my job is literally to post for brands, I fail every day. my team has to know this. Like whatever I do, we're just trying it. And maybe something will stick, and when it does, we run with it. But there's no key to success on social media.